So the image I'm working with is the rendered image from the previous activity or previous video. You can work with pretty much any rendered image. This is really just an example of the kind of thing that you can do in post-production once you've done a rendered image. So as I mentioned in the last video, pretty much all rendered images need some kind of post-production in order to make them a finished product. So in this case, I'm going to pretend that this is an Instagram advert for a new fragrance. So I'm going to duplicate this background. So I'll unlock it first and Control or Command J, and I'm going to crop this to square, the standard sort of Instagram square size. So I've set the crop ratio to 1:1, and then I'm just going to move it over holding shift so that I've got some space on this side. Alright, and then I'm going to hide the original layer so that I've just got that there if I need to refer back to it. So on the new layer, I'm going to use my object selection tool, and I'm going to drag over this perfume bottle plus the reflection of the perfume bottle. And once I've got a selection, I'm going to Command or Control J to make a copy, and then I'm going to hold down Command or Control and click on the thumbnail for that new layer to load it up as a selection. Go back to the original layer that I made the selection and hide the top layer, and now I just want to expand my selection. So I'm going to go Select, Modify, Expand. 10 pixels is good enough. OK. And then I'm going to go Edit, Content Aware Fill, and just let it calculate. Okay, it's done an OK job. I'm happy with that. So OK. And then I'm just going to merge that down onto the layer below. So Control or Command E. So I now have this. I'm going to deselect, and I've got that on top of it. So the reason why I did that is because I want to treat the background separately to the perfume bottle. So with the background selected, I'm going to go to Filter and Blur Gallery, Tilt Shift. Okay, and Tilt Shift basically allows us to have a kind of horizontal blur above and below these solid lines. The dotted line is the fall off. So I'm just going to increase the blur quite a lot. I'm going to bring the blur lines in and the fall off in, so that sort of purple horizon is a little bit more blurred. So I think that looks better. So I'm going to say OK for that. Then I just want to darken this background. So I'm going to go Image, Adjustments, Levels, and I'll just take the midpoint slider down a bit just to darken that up. Alright. There we go. So now with the perfume bottle, and I'm just going to name these layers, perfume bottle, backdrop, original. So for the perfume bottle, I'm going to convert this to a smart object. Right click, convert to smart object so that I can work non-destructively, and I'm going to go Filter, Camera Raw Filter. And I'm just going to apply a few things here. Now obviously this is also based on your own personal taste, so I'm just going to warm the image up. I'm going to increase the exposure a tiny bit, increase the contrast quite a lot. Highlights up a bit, shadows down a bit, whites up a little bit, blacks down a bit, and then just increase the texture and clarity and the vibrance. Okay, so I'm doing this quite quickly. You can take more time, and then I'm just going to say before, after, so much better result after. Okay, so that's my perfume bottle, and then to make it into a kind of advert, what I'm going to do is go back to the backdrop, take my type tool, and the perfume is called Fleur, F-L-E-U-R, so I'm using the same font, and let's just push it up, and I'm going to adjust the tracking to 0 so that everything lines up nicely, And then it doesn't really matter what color it is. I'm going to rasterize that type layer. So right click, rasterize type, Control or Command T, and I'm just going to rotate this 90 degrees like that. And I'm going to, holding shift, just transform it all the way down to the bottom like that. Alright, and then I'm going to hold down Control or Command and click on that text thumbnail to load it. And then I'm going to take my polygonal lasso tool and hold down shift to add to my selection. And then I'm just going to go around the text like this. You'll see where I'm going in a moment. Okay, and then around the bottom here, and then all the way around and back to the beginning. Okay, so that just adds that as a selection, and now what I'm going to do is hide that layer, go to the backdrop layer and add a layer mask. So you can see that it's kind of creating an interesting result there. I'm going to add a new layer, put it below that backdrop, just call it black, and I'm going to fill it with black. So my foreground color is already black, so Alt or Option Backspace to fill that with black. And now for this text layer, I'm going to go to my FX button, go to stroke. I'll put a let's put a 4 pixel stroke, leave it on overlay, and then I'm also going to put in an outer glow, and I'll set the outer glow to this color, and let's just increase the opacity a bit. Okay, and yeah, okay, so I now have these 4 layers which make up the new Instagram advert. So I'm going to Control or Command G to group those and say finished. I'm going to go to my history panel and make a snapshot, and let's call that snapshot finished, or let's say after. And then I'm going to show the original and make a snapshot and call that before. Okay, so now I have a before and after snapshot, so I can see the difference between the original render from Max and the final post-production advert. So this is just an example of the kinds of things that you can do in post-production to finish off your render from 3ds Max. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and see you next time.